Hey everyone, welcome back to the Linux Lighthouse. In this video, we are going to walk through some core Linux skills every power user and sysadmin needs. We will talk about redirecting output, using pipes to chain commands, editing config files with Vim, compressing files with tar, and securely moving data around using SFTP and rsync. Let's not waste time. Let's get into the terminal and make Linux work for you. So, when you run a command in Linux, it talks to three streams. stdin, standard input, usually your keyboard. Standard output, the screen. Standard error, for errors also your screen. Each stream has a number behind the scenes. 0 represents standard input, 1 represents standard output, and 2 represents standard error. We can change where these outputs go using redirection. Let's look at some examples here. Want to save the date into a file? Run this command, date space greater than and the path of the file. Need to save the last 100 lines of a log file? Use tail to print out the last 100 lines and redirect it to another file. How about combining files? Use cat command for concatenate a list of files and redirect the output to one file. Want to hide error messages? Just redirect them to null. Want both output and errors in one file? Use the AND sign combined with greater than sign to redirect the error and the output to a file. Always pay attention to the order of redirections. The first one here on the left works differently than the one on the right. To redirect both standard input and error, just stick with this. Use AND sign combined with the greater than sign. A pipe, or the pipe sign, sends output from one command straight into the next. So here this example, ls space -l space listing all the files under /bin /usr/bin, and we redirect the output to the command list. It views a long list page by page for all the files under that path. Use the command wc or word count to count files in a directory with the argument -l, and we redirect the output for the command ls on the path /usr/bin to wc space -l. It will count the files inside that path. To save the 10 most recently changed files in your home folder or in a different path, use the argument -t for time and redirect the output to the command head and use -n10. If you want to view and save output at the same time, you can use the command T and combine it with the commands that will generate an output and redirect the output to T command, and you can redirect again to the command list. So let's run the command here, and we will see on the other side the output of the file. So here you can see the file listing, and also in the same time you are having a copy of the output of the command. So the command ls-l will list the files in where I'm standing now and redirect the output to the command T, which will save the output to the file, and the output of ls command will be redirected to the command list to be able to see it on the screen. You can also append to a file while still seeing the output. So here the output of the command ls will be redirected to the command head. We will see the first 10 lines, and the output will be redirected to the T command using the -a parameter that will append to that file. And yes, you can pipe errors too. And just remember, that when we are inside the terminal and we're redirecting the input and output, standard input and the standard error, okay, you use this formula, 2 greater than and the and sign, 1, and the redirection if you want to redirect the output of this to another command. Because using this direction and greater than this one, you use it only when you are redirecting the output to a file or saving the output to a file. Like for an example, if I want to redirect the output of ls command to a file and like that. But if you will use the and sign greater than in the terminal, you will get an error. So if you are inside the terminal and you want to redirect the error messages and the standard input messages, you use this 2 greater than and sign and 1. So I'm redirecting the error messages also to the standard input. So if we run this command, and here we can see the error messages is redirected to the standard input, which is the screen or the terminal, and redirected to the command list, and I can go through them page by page. Editing files with Vim. Why Vim? Because almost every Linux system has it, and it's crazy powerful once you get the hang of it. Vim-minimal. It's a minimal version, just VI. Full version with tutorials and help, Vim-enhanced. To run Vim, just write Vim space and the file name. To use Vim, you have to understand Vim modes. Now we open the file.txt using Vim. Vim modes. The first mode is normal mode, which you can move around, delete a line, or copy a line. Insert mode is when you press I to start typing in the file, like writing. And we have the visual mode. Visual mode is when you press V to select a text. So let's try these two. Here, I'm still in normal mode, so I can move around using the arrow keys. I can delete a line. Pressing double D will delete the line that I am on. And by the way, nothing happened to the file yet. Everything is in the memory. Once you write the shortcuts or the commands to Vim to save the file, then the file will be written to disk. So far, we can exit without any changes saved to the file. Okay. So now if I pressed V here using the mouse, because I'm in the visual, so I can highlight text. In the insert mode, it will be a little bit, maybe it will not work. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not working. It depends on the plugins you are using in your shell or what type of shell you are using. So now if I finished editing, the most important that you have to go back to normal mode. To go back to normal mode is by pressing the escape key. And then you press shift and colon to enter a command for Vim. So if I put W, then I will write all the changes to disk. If I put W, Q, then means write and quit. If I enter Q and exclamation mark, means quit without saving anything. So now I will quit without saving anything. I will just hit enter. Now I got out of the file and the file is not changed or altered. Let's open the file again and let's talk about an example, copy and paste for a line or a word. Okay, so the shortcut for copying a line in Vim, if I came here, step for this line, and I press double Y, now this line is completely copied. So I can come down here. If I pressed P, it will just take a new line and paste that line. Let's say I want to copy just a word or a part of a word. So if I come here, the first thing that I have to be in visual mode. So you press V. Now we are in visual mode. You can use Ctrl Shift and the arrow key to highlight what you want to copy. So if I am on this word info_2 and I press Ctrl Shift and I move the arrow, so I just want to copy that word info_2 and then I press Y. So now this is copied. So if I want to paste it, let's say the same way in a new line, if I press P, here it will paste it where you are standing. But let's say you want a new line, so you press O. Now I am in a new line, and again I go to normal mode, I press escape, and then I press P. Now it is pasted. For more information about Vim, don't forget to download your copy from the link in the description and the one you see on the screen. And also, make this command is your friend while using Vim tutor, and you just press enter and you have a big help for using Vim, and you can search and move using the arrow keys and the page down and page up. Shell variables and bash customization. In bash, you can create variables like this: count = 40 or file 1 = /temp/log. To see a variable, you use the command echo. It's equal or equivalent to the same concept in other programming languages when you do print. Want to include the variable in text? You make sure that it is between curly brackets inside double quotes. Promote a shell variable to environment level. You can use export and the variable and the value for that variable. Here we are forcing the shell that when we open any file that the default is Vim. Like for an example, vi sudo. When you are going to write something or change something in sudo file. Change how your prompt looks. You use the variable ps1. You can make it all permanent by editing in your home folder the file .bashrc, which is a hidden file, and .bash_profile. .bashrc for interactive sessions. .bash_profile for login sessions. You can create your own shortcuts. Like here, we used the command alias to create a shortcut called hello. So when we run or when we write hello in the terminal, it will print the value of that alias. We can remove a variable or alias from the shell by using the command unset and unalias. Working with tar archives. Let's package up some files. Create a tarball using the command tar -cf, C for create, F for file, and space and the name of the file, and then the files you want to archive. You want to compress it, you can use GZ or BZ2 or XZ. If you want to list the contents of a tar file or tar archive, you use the command tar-tf. If you want to extract the contents of a file, you use -x. And if the file is GZ or BZ2, you can add the parameter for that. Like for an example, tar -x ZF if the file is .tar.gz, and so on. To preserve extracted file permissions, you add the parameter p. So the command will be tar -xpf. If you want to check compressed size of an archived file, you can use the commands for that archiving. Like for an example, for GZ, you can use the command gzip -l. If it is xz, you use the command xz-l. Transfer files securely with SFTP. SFTP is like FTP but secure. It uses SSH under the hood. To start a session, you just write SFTP and the username and the remote host IP or the host name. Once you are in, you can move around the same way that you do on your terminal, like we have ls to list the existing files and directories on the remote host, because when you SFTP to a remote host, it will take you directly to the home folder of the user that you logged in. And you can change directory, you can print directory. The next thing is, we have the command put. Put means upload. Upload from the source, the initiator, the machine that you initiated SFTP command to the remote host, where you were on your system before you do SFTP. SFTP command will look for that file and trying to upload it to the remote host. So here in this example, when I give SFTP, two files already exist in my system or the initiator system. What SFTP do? It uploaded the file to the second name. So be careful about that. Maybe on the remote system, you have a file with the same name, so you will overwrite if you did that. So be careful and try to list the file and check before you put any file on the remote system. To download the file to your home folder, you use the command get and the name of the file. SFTP will download that file from the remote system to your home folder or where you are standing on your system where you initiated the SFTP command. To close the session, all you need to write bye and hit enter. Sync files with rsync. This tool is a game changer. Only changed parts of files get copied. Super fast and secure. To sync local to remote, use this command rsync-av, the source and the destination. If you put a backslash at the end, rsync will go one level in that folder and copy the files beneath that directory to the destination, but removing the backslash at the end, so the whole directory will be copied under that path on the remote host. And here the tilde sign is for home. So this will be resolved after logging to the remote host to /home/ and the username /downloads. And to remote or sync remote to local, we just change the source with the destination and destination with the source. So here are sync-av and the source that downloads directory will be downloaded to that folder in my home or where I'm standing right now. So SFTP will bring this directory from the remote host to backup directory. Let's take this example for syncing locally using the command rsync --v. The first one is the source, the second one is the destination. If you notice here, the destination, I removed the backslash at the end and I kept the backslash at the end of the source. So let's hit enter and let's check this directory and we will see that here the rsync took the files and everything beneath backup and copy it under that directory destination backup. If I run this command again, okay, and I will remove the backslash at the end and I will run again, and when we check, we will see the folder is here or the directory. If you want to include permissions like ACLS, access control list, and security context, you use these parameters -AV, A capital, X capital, source and destination. If you want to sync hard links too, you add this parameter H capital and source and destination. Always pay attention to slashes at the end when you use rsync, because accidentally you can overwrite something and you don't have a backup for it. So be careful when using rsync. That's a wrap. If this video helped, hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you want to see more hands-on Linux tutorials. Thanks for watching, and remember, with Linux, the more you explore, the more powerful you become. Don't forget to download the PDF, which covers everything we talked about here in more details. The link is in the description. Until next time, stay sharp and stay in the terminal.